Hi, and welcome to Simply Happy Conversations. I'm Narelle King, and in this Simply Happy Conversation Favourite Tips series, Rebecca Mezzino, a professional organiser, shares tips for organising with kids. To listen to the full conversation, head to episode 23 or check out the recording on YouTube. Let's jump into this Simply Happy conversation. Welcome to Simply Happy Conversations. I'm Narelle King, wellness and organisational coach and yin and nidra yoga instructor. This podcast will help you create more time using organisational strategies so that you can start to simplify your life and prioritise your health. I'll be sharing conversations with other health and organisational experts and solo episodes with tips to help you simplify your life and prioritise your health.
Just sometimes there are some things that we take for granted that make sense to us that other people are like, this is life-changing.
Yes.
You've just changed my life. And I'm like, oh, okay. And it's just sometimes it's those little things that, and when she said that, I was like, wow, I didn't think that this was something that would be, unusual. And obviously I'm a lot more experienced now. So there are things that I say, that people go, oh, I've never thought of it that way, or oh, that was really helpful, or that thing you said to me last week, I've been saying it over and over and over again to myself, and it's really helping. So it's sort of those little different ways of looking at things, I think, that are the most profound changes to other people.
Yes.
That seem really obvious to me, and I've gotten much more aware of that. So I never assume knowledge now.
Yes.
Or I never assume but I used to, it's just something that, and again, I was younger, and, when you're younger, you make these assumptions due to a lack of life experience, I suppose. And, now it's like, you make those assumptions, and it really puts you into a box, and it means that it's really difficult to then help people if you're just assuming what they already know. So if you assume nothing, and then they might go, oh yeah, I've done that before, and you're like, oh cool, so you do know that. But other times you're like, really?
Yes.
And so you're like, yes, that's useful for them then. So yeah,
I love that when I suggest, what about if we move this here, or we did this, or what about this, and they're just like, oh my God, you're so amazing at this. And I'm like, oh, really? I just thought that would be normal.
It just popped in my head.
Yeah. No, that's just how my brain works. And I love that when you see those moments. And like you said, my favorite bit is when kids are involved with me. So, when the parent says, oh, the kids they're still at home, remote learning at the moment, or they've got a curriculum. Oh, awesome. I love that, because there's always a job, and it's that osmosis that they learn through watching what you're doing, isn't it? And
yeah. And kids need to be a part of the process. They can't
definitely
end up growing up with this sort of house fairy kind of mentality of not knowing the process of how a house is maintained, and how boundaries are set, and all of those kinds of things, and how to let go of things and make their own decisions about their stuff and all of that. So it's working with kids is really great. And there's some kids, depending on their neurodivergent status or their emotional status or whatever it is, some kids they're all different, so there's different challenges. And I was with a client the other day, and because it's school holidays, her son was home, and he wants to keep everything, and she sort of, all of our sessions had been with him at school, and so we just talked about him, but I'd never worked with him at that point. But it was school holidays, and I was early, and they arrived home and came into the house, so we all sort of came in together. And so we were just sort of all chatting, and she just, I don't know how it happened, but it just happened that he got involved in a decision about something. We were going to work on something else, but she brought up one of his things, so he got involved. Anyway, within for about 15 minutes or so, he and I were vibing. So he was letting go of stuff, and he was chatting away to me, and he was talking about his own interests, and he has autism. And so one of the things he does a lot is talk about his own interests a lot. And it's one of the things that she wants him to work on, because he doesn't listen to anyone else about their interests. But it was great because he was so focused on his interests. I could slip in what do you want to do with this? And he was engaged with me. So he was like already pre-engaged on a different level, but he was then I would be able to get him to engage on my level, and he would jump back to his again. And so it was really good. And we went for a while like that, and then he disappeared. And then we tried again, and he goes, just bring me things to make decisions about. And I'm like, yeah. And so after about, I think it was about half an hour, I came into her, I said, we've lost him. And she said, we did well for a while. And we did. We cleared several cubes of stuff in his bookcase. But we did lose him after a while. He just had enough. But it was, it's like working with them, it's always different depending on the kid. And some kids will engage for 4 hours and others will engage for 5 minutes, and you take what you can in that 5 minutes and you do what you can with that time. But it's amazing how they learn quite well from even just that small amount of time. Yeah.
Definitely. And I love you've got an episode which I share with lots of clients, the one with your son. I love it.
With Ethan,
with Ethan and his, because I've shared it with clients and they've used it with their children, so their children can listen and relate to another person. So I absolutely love that episode. It's one of my favorite. I don't know if it's one of your top downloads at all, but it is.
Yeah, I actually haven't checked the stats. It's not one of the top downloaded ones. People prefer the practical ones, like where to put stuff. They're always a really high downloaded ones. But it's my favourite one as well, and obviously because he's my son and it's fun to do something with him.
Yeah.
But and you've listened to it, so you know, but just the transition from this kid who couldn't let go of anything and who lived in a mess. I mean, he's still, if I opened his room now, he's 17, there was still stuff all over the floor. But the thing is, he's minimalised down to the point where it only takes him a few minutes to tidy up. When he can, is deigned to be bothered, it will only take him a few minutes. And so that transition from, that little emotionally attached kid to this minimalist almost adult is quite interesting. And then another thing, and I was talking to a client yesterday about this who's got really young kids, and I said, it's time to get in now, get in early on managing the volume of belongings and managing their expectations around belongings and acquisitions and all that stuff. It's really good to start early. And I said to her that one of the things that I kind of worried about, which you always do when you're a parent, you wonder if your strategies are actually, doing well by them or whatever. And I said to her, look, my kid's got a Wii in 2009, and that's the only gaming console they've ever had. And they've only ever had 3 or 4 games. They still play it unironically. I even said to Ethan, you play it ironically, don't you? And he went, no, we actually enjoy playing it. Oh, okay. So they still play this way. They've never asked for another gaming console. They might have, when they were little, said, could we get PlayStation? And we've said, no, you've got a gaming console, and they've gone, okay. But they've never complained. And I have asked them both now as, one adult and one almost adult, do you feel like you missed out on your childhood because of the boundaries we placed around acquisitions and belongings and all that? And they both said, no, we're really grateful. We know how to wait for things. We know how to work hard for things. We're not addicted to games, and they're we're not spoiled. And they sort of then will cite examples from their circles and people they know of how they're glad they're not like that. And so I sort of said to her, because she said it's not fair for kids to not get toys during the year. And I went, really? Let's challenge that assumption, shall we? And then I told her about my kids who said, no, they don't feel like they ever missed out. And so, that's something I like to reassure clients of, is that
that's great. Thank you so much for joining me for today's Simply Happy conversation. If you'd like to reduce your paper and digital clutter and free yourself from the overwhelm of clutter so that you can claim back time and space to enjoy the things you love, head over to simplyhappy.com.au in the resource section and grab the declutter checklist and start to reduce your clutter even with small amounts of time.